Aruch or Chaim, Nun Gimel, the Halachot of Shaliach Tzibur, and we are on Seif Chaf. אם אחד רוצה לומר תפילה בשביל אביו ואחד רוצה לומר תפילה בשביל אחר, מי שירצה הקהל שיאמר התפילה, הוא יאמר. If someone's father has passed away and they want, oh, by the way, the learning, the week's learning of KBT has been sponsored by our own very dear Mahyar Zargari. Leilui Nishmat is amazing father, Rabbi Shlomo Rahamim ben Yosef Moshe. His neshama should have an aliyah, and also has been sponsored for Refuah Shlema of Devorah Bat Rivka by our own very dear Ruz B'Jawaheri that has dedicated this to Refuah Shlema of Devorah Bat Rivka that should have a complete recovery. Amen. So this is a massive, fantastic sugya of what is considered an ilui neshama for a deceased. If you get up by the Amud and you're a Shaliach Tzibur, is that considered an aliyat neshama? The Kaddish that you say, is that aliyat neshama? What exactly it is that's considered? Chabad actually has extensive shuvah on this in Yechavedat, in Chelek Hey, Siman Nuntet of Yechavedat, which is Kedai to see. And the Shulchan Aruch says, if you have two people, one of them is doing this for his father, the other one is doing it for a separate person, it's not the immediate family. So which one should take precedent? Says the Shulchan Aruch, we don't automatically say the one that is commemorating his father's yortzeit or shiv'ah or shloshim, or is within the year, he should have precedent. We don't say that. We say whoever the tzibur wants, because remember, the Avel could say Kaddish. Kaddish Yatom is tremendous. You could learn, you could give tzedakah. All of those are things you could do for aliyat neshama. Right? Sfaradim are very much into maftir. Right? Chaubadia over there, I think, says that if you're going to mess up on maftir, better to give tzedakah to a Tamei Chacham and let somebody that knows how to read the maftir do it a proper job. If you get up there and embarrass yourself and you say also everything half wrong, so then it's not a tremendous aliyah for the neshama in that way, of course. But nevertheless, it is an aliyah neshama for becoming a shaliach tzibur, right? Chacham Obadia writes this in that Shuvah in Yechavedat, that by becoming shaliach tzibur, it is considered an aliyah neshama for the father. It's not hatruach for the father that the son is becoming a shaliach tzibur. Right? Or Tzion writes is a little bit differently. But it's debatable what the minhag of the Sfaradim has been. Tzion Musafi keeps on saying that it's not necessarily the old minhag of the Sfaradim to become the Shaliach Tzibur. But again, it's very much backed by literature. This is something that I believe Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Hillel has a tshuva in the second volume of his tshuvot by Ashov Hayam as well. It's indicating that it's not a big deal. You could do other things for it, but nevertheless, it is considered a aliyat neshama. But that's not something that trumps the dinei shaliach tzibur. In other words, we mentioned one of the core elements is that tzibur has to be happy with the shaliach tzibur. So if they're not happy with this guy, even though that he is commemorating his father and this one is doing for a different person, if the tzibur doesn't want him to be the shaliach tzibur, he cannot become shaliach tzibur because he could do kaddish. No one is going to stop. No one could stop him from saying kaddish. But the shaliach tzibur has to be a person that is beloved and accepted upon the tzibur. So therefore, if he happens to be not a person that tzibur wants, he should not become shaliach tzibur. Well, Kaddish Yatom is the takana of Chazal. It's not necessarily those Kaddishes. Actually, there's once you're asking this, I'll say the fact that the Kaddish at the end of Sefer Torah, they say Kaddish after Torah, has been instituted by Chazal to be said for the neshama of people who have nobody to say Kaddish for them, right? Therefore, there are many poskim who say the Shaliach Tzibur or the person that gets the aliyah, the last aliyah, mashlim, or shlishi, that's the person that should say Kaddish. The minhag that some people have started, I've never ever saw this happen in Iran, unheard of, to have someone say Bikar Torah and call someone that has Kaddish Yatom to come say the Kaddish at the end of the Torah. That's not the proper thing to do. Even though that's not asur, but there are many poskim who say it should not happen like that because that person has only his deceased person in mind. Whereas this Kaddish was a takana to care for people who don't have a relative to say Kaddish for them. So that should be the kavanah of the person that says Kaddish, either the Shaliach Tzibur or the Mashlim or Shlishi that says the Kaddish. That would be the right thing. So, to be marbe be-kadishim, as the Sfaradim love to say Kaddish. They say the Ashkenazi guy comes to Sfaradim and say, you guys say Kaddish on everything. You say, anything that happens, one word of Torah, I say Rabbi Hananiah ben Achashyahu. The Sfaradi guy says, that's a gishmak of Torah. Rabbi Hananiah ben Achashyahu. We're lovers of Kaddish. That's but at the same time, again, to be marbe be-kadishim is not a proper thing necessarily. And one hour of sitting and learning the aliyat neshama of the father is worth 1,000 kaddishes. It's tremendous to give tzedakah and learn Torah mainly. So you do what's in the format of Chazal, this takana for Kaddish Yatom. You say that, and that's tefillah. Yeah, if you have a nice voice and you know how to do it, you're not going to botch every word and get up there for haftarah and embarrass yourself and embarrass the sibur, and everyone is looking at their watch that the haftarah that's supposed to take 2 minutes is taking 20 minutes. Of course, that's not a proper conduct. But if he's good, yes, that's considered an aliyat neshama for the father as well. So let's see actually the words of Mishna Berurah. Says the Mishna Berurah, Bishvil Aviv Perush Shemet Aviv, his father has passed away, Rahman Litzlan, Ve'rotzeh litpaler kederech ha'avelim. He wants to daven by the Amud like an Avel does. By the way, in the first 7 days is machloket. Now the Mishna Berurah is later going to say that there are certain communities that have a takana not to let the Avel daven in the first 7 days because it seems the reason has been because first 7 days every Avel still goes to shul. Everyone keeps shiva, right? The rest of it, cools down a little bit more. So if you make it that it becomes a minhag that the Avel does, you end up with a lot of people who really don't know how to daven properly, that they become shlichet tzibur as well, right? And that's not necessarily a good thing for the tzibur because now that everyone knows how to do it, then it becomes the process of shaliach tzibur becomes ruined. But afterwards, it's not as much pressure, and therefore some kilot have made a takana that the avel during shiva, during the first 7 days, they don't let the avel become the shaliach tzibur. Now Chachamadia says mekaradin if he wants, and it's good, he could do it. Ramor Chayliyahu, Rabbi Shalom, he was a little bit more stringent that within the first 7 days you should not do it. But I once saw, and this is when Chelek Chamishiyah of Shulchan Aruch, someone had become shaliach tzibur, and it was a good shaliach tzibur. He was standing there, it's like very broken. It was Avel, and this guy comes in and he sees that this person is becoming shaliach tzibur, and he made the whole tumult in the shul. So he's Avel, he can't be shaliach tzibur. He took him down from the bima, right? Very questionable if this guy has olam haba. Gemara says in Masechet Baba Metzia Tafnun Chet Amud Bet Nun Tet Amud Aleph, Gemara says if a person, as they say, the David HaMelech was Rosh Bet Midrash, was a tremendous Talmid Chacham, and David HaMelech would be taunted and teased by people for the rest of his life. After the story of Bathsheba, people wouldn't let him live it down, right? Gemara says tshuva nobody has done in that level. But nevertheless, people would say, David, David Amelech would say over, said, we were learning in the Bet Midrash, the Arachot of Nigaim, Ta'arot, nothing to do with Eshet Ish. And all of a sudden, in the middle of learning, they say, David, how about Eshet Ish mitato b'ma? If someone goes with an Eshet Ish, how do we kill him? They were, of course, teasing and taunting him about the story of Bathsheba, embarrassing him publicly. And David Amelech wasn't to push over. So he would say, I would tell them, mitato b'chenek. We kill him with Hanek, and he has Chilek L'Olam Haba. But someone that makes someone embarrassed publicly like this, he loses his portion in the world to come. So that's something to be mindful as well. You have to have a certain balance of, and that's why a person should have a Rav, should have ask questions. Not every halakha that you learn is necessarily the psak for every certain situation. Is something to be asked and contemplated with a dat Torah. So it says the Mishna Berurah, ki tefillah yoter mitzvah ma'amirat kaddish, because saying tefillah as a shaliach tzibur, becoming shaliach tzibur as an avel, is a greater zechut for the neshama than it is than saying kaddish, right? And Chacham Ovadia writes the same thing in the name of Rama. Rama Yoredea in Siman Shin Ayin Vav says the same thing, that the tefillah that the Avel davens as the Shaliach Tzibur by the Amud is more beneficial for the neshama of the deceased than it is saying the Kaddish. But again, as we mentioned before, Ben Zion Abba Shaul, his students in Or Zion, they say that Kaddish Yatom that we say is more adif, is more important and preferable than becoming a Shaliach Tzibur. So if you have a choice of becoming Shaliach Tzibur in this minyan and then having to leave before Kaddish Yatom versus davening in a different minyan that you can't become the Shaliach Tzibur, but you could say Kaddish Yatom, that's when this question comes in. According to Chacham Ovadia, again, becoming Shaliach Tzibur would be more important. According to Rabbi Shaul, would be more important to say Kaddish Yatom. Okay. So it says the Mishna Berurah on the Shulchan Aruch that paskin that the individual that the tzibur wants more is the one that should become shaliach tzibur. Because dafka kaddish yachol lomar b'shvil aviv ve'en reshut b'yad hakahal lidchoto. Kaddish yatom, you could say nobody could stop you. Aval lo yachol liot shaliach hakahal, but it can't be the agent of the kahal by davening by the Amud as a Shaliach Tzibur against their will. So if the Tzibur doesn't want this guy to become Shaliach Tzibur, he can't. And here, again, if one person doesn't want him, we don't care about that one person because it's going to increase mahloket if we do that. But you go after the majority of the Tzibur, as we explained before. Okay, says the Mishna Berurah, there are places, there are places that they don't let the Avel to daven kol hashavua lifnei hateva. Kim l'shaliach tzibur hakavua shelahem. The set shaliach tzibur that's paid and does it, he's the one that does it. Ve'en lidchot takana. I can't change this takana. And the reason for this has been because if you have a Avel that's Amaretz, doesn't know the halachot of Shaliach Tzibur, doesn't know the proper pronunciation, make mistakes, they don't understand, they can't have kavanah to be motzi the kahal, and that's ziluta, ika ziluta, that's a disrespect to the tzibur. Therefore, they made the takana that we don't let the Avel daven and the kavua Shaliach Tzibur kavua davens properly. But if it's a place that you don't have such a takana, then it's mitzvah for the kahal to let the avel daven. Ben Ishchai Arav Shalom in Rav Pe'alim, he writes the same thing. Chaim writes the same thing, that it's mitzvah to let the avel be the shaliach tzibur for someone that has your side, for someone that has Azkara, because that is a nachat ruach for the neshama of the deceased to have their sons, their grandsons, daven and lead the sibur. That's something that they have nachat ruach from it. And again, everyone agrees with this aspect. But there are those who say that because there's no hiyuv, there's no obligation in this, the minhag has not spread through Bnei Sfarad. Sfaradim don't have the minhag that you should daven as a shaliach tzibur, because there's no chiyuv. It's not like Kaddish that you have to say Kaddish for your father as a strong minhag. Over here, this has not been well spread, as we said before. Rabbi Shlomo Yisraeli also says this, that the old minhag has not been like this. It's not to say that the neshama does not have aliyah. Of course he has. Obadiah says that's better even than Kaddish. But it hasn't been a strong, well-spread minhag. Therefore, to fight about it is not good. Khatam Sofer has a tshuva. There was a very big debate between two people who needed to lead the Shaliach Tzibur. One of them, both of them were commemorating the deceased. This is halachot in this. Someone that has shloshim, someone has yortzai, someone has within the first year. Who gets k'dima? And Khatam Sofer there says, standing in the shul, and you're gonna come, if it's not clear, and you're gonna come to have a whole mahloket, who's gonna get it? And you're gonna start fighting and insisting on your rights. So it's much better aliyah for the neshama is to give in and have the proper midot, to be ma'avir al midotav, to let go, and to let the other person do it. That havara ala midot, that midot tovot, the character trait that you have developed, and you show that you are willing to respect the wishes of another person, that by itself is the greater aliyat neshama for the deceased than it is of what you stand up there as a shaliach tzibur and daven for the aliyat neshama. So that's, again, sometimes we lose the forest of the trees. That's how it goes, right? Trees for the forest. Right? We lose the focus on the bigger picture for a little halakha that we know or we think we know, and it becomes a problem. That's what the Khatam Sofer writes in such for such situation. The Mishna Berurah writes, when you don't have takara min hakavua, it's mitzvah to let them do it because nachat ruach lemet umatzilo midino shel geinam. It's a nachat ruach for the neshama of the deceased, and he takes him out of geinam. He actually saves him from suffering. But if the person cannot properly pronounce the words, or he doesn't know halachot of being basic halachot of shaliach tzibur, he should not, even if they tell him go, he says no. I say Kaddish, like that he should be smart enough not to get himself up there when he doesn't know what he's doing properly. Now, the Kaf Chaim and Chacham Obadia add to this that a person like this that doesn't know how to pronounce or doesn't know the basic halachot of shaliach tzibur. So I've seen this so many times. So there are some people who think they know, but they also deep down know that they don't know. It's up there. They say it fast. They swallow the words. If you record their saying and then play the recording on slow motion, it will be the most embarrassing thing. How many mistakes they make. We have people like that, right? So you want to know what happens in Shamayim when that happens? If a person like that takes, instead of just sitting the kavod and saying, "Oh, I will say Kaddish," he goes and does the tefillah or whatever it is, other functions of sibur that needs to be for the sibur of haftarah or what not. Says the Kaf Chaim, says Chacham Obadia, it's no benefit for the neshama what they're doing, but adarabah, on the contrary, it becomes a category, it becomes a negative force for the neshama. I say, look, this is a son that you raised. He has so much ga'ava, he thinks he's God's gift to humanity, and he gets up there and messes up every word and is a disgrace, right? Right? Oneg, if you switch the letters of oneg becomes nega. It becomes the infliction for the neshama. So Magen Avraham writes that if you have an avil and a mohel, right? So who gets the tefillah, right? So says the Magen Avraham, nidche ha'avel min ha'tefillah machmat ha'mohel. The avel goes out because of the mohel. Yom sheyesh shemet bo aviv ve'imosh korin yortzeit. But the day of yortzeit, the day of azkara, doche lemohel ve'le'avel. That pushes everything because that's one day. In one day a year comes, that pushes the avel, that's in the midst of the 30 days or a year, or even the mohel. And that's only if the kahal, it's not makpid. But if the kahal wants it, we don't want this person. It's about machloket, whatever it is, we don't want him. He does amaretz, he doesn't daven properly, and they could stop him from this that we say this one takes precedent, this one takes precedence. Only when the kahal is okay with all of them, they're all fine, they're all okay, then we talk about precedence. And then at the end, the Chafetz Chaim ends over here. Ubitfilat arvit, in the tefillah of arvit, shehu eno keneged temidin. It's not a main part of the takana because it's not keneged temidin. Efshar len sarich dat be'alim. Maybe there we don't take into consideration what the tzibur wants as much. You don't need dat be'alim. And the tzibur hence would not be able to stop the shaliach tzibur from davening for the avel, because it's mitzvah for him to daven, and they can't stop him, so he should be able to do it. But then he says, you have to keep in mind, you can't fight about this. There should shum mitzvah, for no mitzvah in the world, in this way, you come and get into a fight and machloket ima tzibur with the tzibur. We're going to discuss this in next Seif in Shulchan Aruch B'ezrat Hashem, and with that we'll continue in the days to come.